Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to all our attendees. My name is Alexander Ilic. I'm an architect and senior BIM manager at BEXEL Consulting Company with experience in BIM implementation and project management on international projects. At the beginning, just to say that we are proud to see that this event gained so much attention by community. It is inspiring to see over 2,000 professionals from all around the globe gathered at such event. Thank you very much for your support, and we hope that we will justify your trust and present you something interesting and unique. In the following 2 weeks, my colleague Mileta Pejovic and I will try to present you advanced integrated BIM workflows through a series of 4 online sessions. Today and tomorrow we will speak about advanced 3D BIM workflows, and next week my colleague will guide you through 5D and 4D. Events are streamed at our LinkedIn page and YouTube account, and recordings will be available on both platforms in case you miss streaming or want to watch it again. Direct link to high-resolution YouTube streaming is available in chat section. All materials used in presentation are already available for download on BEXEL user area platform in webinar materials section titled BEXEL Online Event June 2021 Exercise Materials Days 1 and 2. Besides the series of webinars, I'm also inviting you to register for another interesting BIM event in June. On June 22nd, we will have a webinar organized by Building Smart International, where our CEO Veljko Janjic will talk about innovations and challenges in Open BIM project management. If you're interested to hear about latest tendencies and achievements in Open BIM, you can register on the link available in chat or comment sections. For those attendees who haven't still tried BEXEL Manager platform, I will just briefly walk you through the process of free trial request. At our company webpage, you can request your trial license by simply submitting request through a simple form. You gain access to 30-day free license for full features of BEXEL Manager software. The only requirement we have is to use your company or university email address in submission form. If you are student or professor, you can request educational license and gain access to 1-year trial of our software solution. With BEXEL Manager trial, you also get access to our virtual knowledge base called BEXEL User Area. You can access it simply through our website. You can use your email address and password from trial activation process and start using your free knowledge base. On the Materials tab, you can find a range of free educational materials for BEXEL Manager, from manuals in various languages, handbook documents, detailed step-by-step workflow guide, through video tutorials for different features of the software, very useful add-ins and API scripts to extend the features and functionalities of your software, all the way to demo sample projects. We offer 4 different types of buildings, of construction projects, from different authoring tools, of a different type, of different scale, and all of these projects are accompanied with detailed educational documents, step-by-step exercises that will help you to learn your basic workflows in BEXEL Manager. Besides this, there's also Webinar Materials tab, where you can find exercise materials and models from previous free educational webinars, as well as exercise materials, models, and all import data for this webinar. And at the end, the Databases tab that include various classification systems ready for import into BEXEL Manager. So if you haven't, I invite you to request trial and try it for yourself. Try to recreate workflows from our educational materials or this webinar. Test the platform and see how it suits your needs and how it can help you improve your productivity. Just before we start with the presentation, I will give you just a brief overview of today's session. We will have a short introduction about company and software. Then we will talk about Federated BIM model, about predefined selection sets and predefined project organization templates. We're going to talk about BIM model control process, data validation, and data enrichment. In today's and all following sessions, we will focus on automation of BIM project management processes, smart knowledge management, and how BIM platforms can help you to optimize your work, establish procedures, and significantly improve productivity. If you have any questions, you can submit it to chat or comment section depending on streaming platform you use, and our colleagues will try to give you an answers. At the end of the session, we will also answer some questions live. So let's start with today's topic. BEXEL is a software development and BIM consultants company with experience on numerous projects around the globe. We are multinational members of Building Smart International, and we are devoted to integrated BIM project management, BIM education, and BIM implementation. We're dedicated to localization of our software solution. As of now, our user interface is available in 12 different languages, with 5 more in development. Our software solutions and our consulting services are used on numerous projects by big, well-known companies around the world, and we are proud to say that we gain trust from so many renowned clients. Last year we won an Innovation Award at Building Smart annual competition, and we are very proud to be recognized as leaders in innovation in field of BIM. Just a brief explanation about our approach to BIM. BIM is often considered as a series of separate tools or processes specifically tailored for a certain part of construction management or for a specific project lifecycle phase. This often brings to a conclusion that BIM implementation is complicated, expensive, and that requires extensive training and resources. Because of this, we saw a need for a new approach to BIM implementation. We saw a solution in establishing BIM processes and BIM platform in such way to be open and adjustable for different requirements and project types. We wanted to ensure that the core of BIM model role on the project is to be a reliable single source of truth for all participants, to encompass all relevant information on the project. In order to succeed in this, we envisioned our platform as an integrated BIM solution that will allow you to manage your project through whole life cycle, to integrate information from different phases and different stakeholders, and to focus on big picture and benefit from integrated project database. Now we're moving to practical demonstration part. We will start with the first basic workflow, BIM model federation. This process implies integration of submodels of different disciplines and different stakeholders. Even though it is an essential BIM process, it often presents one of the biggest challenges in BIM implementation, mostly thanks to the fact that specific design disciplines require use of specialized authoring software platforms. These platforms are often configured in different ways, and interchanging information between them is challenging. Thankfully, majority of software vendors today are dedicated to Open BIM approach. In cooperation with Building Smart International Organization for BIM Standardization, OpenIFC format is developed and widely accepted. We're gonna start our live demo with model federation. So basically we're gonna just create a new project within BEXEL Manager. We're gonna name it Demonstration Models. We're gonna name version V01 for our start model. We're gonna choose multiple sources. Then we're gonna just select 3 IFC files, one for architecture, one for MEP, and one for structural works, and click OK. The software will just merge them into one federated BIM model, including all the geometry and data layer of the said sources. Now we can open our federated BIM model. We have established our federated BIM model. all different sources are now integrated into a single central BIM model. But what makes difference between a simple 3D model for visualization purposes only and a BIM model is so-called information layer. So besides geometry, BIM model contains an extensive data layer. So the first step in federated BIM model preparation is to organize this information and prepare it for the next phase. So first of all, we need to check spatial and data structure of the model. For this, in BEXEL Manager, you can use Building Explorer tab. Here there are predefined model organization functionalities that will organize your BIM model by element category and family, spatial organization, systems, and workset structure. So basically you're able to control your model based on these predefined organizational schemes. So if we go quickly through these options, we can see that what level of information we have and what is the basic structure of our model. But for a more detailed analysis, we would need more refined project organization, more customized project organization. And to achieve this, we can use selection sets. Selection sets allow user to group and organize elements. So you can manually create groups of elements or use rules and define so-called smart selection sets that will group elements according to certain rules or properties. And now we can see one simple example. So I can just select these few elements and create a test selection set. So these elements will be actually stored in this selection set. Or I can create a smart selection set by simply defining the rule. Let's say we're going to use to, let's say, group all the elements that are of certain category. Let's choose walls. And I can simply create the smart selection set. The difference with the smart selection set and simple selection set is that even when you update the model, the smart selection sets will be updated according to the rules defined in the selection set. But honestly, creating new customized selection sets for every new project is a time-consuming task, since if you think about it, rules of model organization and procedures are more or less something that can be predefined at the level of a team or at the level of a whole company, actually. So this new feature of BEXEL Manager that we'll present today allows you to establish your knowledge base, a set of predefined templates for model organization and control that could be easily applied on every new project and exchanged between teams. With a simple add-in, user is now able to import smart selection sets defined in an Excel spreadsheet. Now we're going to present some of the examples. So since we have a start model without selection sets, we can start with model organization rules that will identify different sources, let's say. So in this example, rules are established to identify abbreviation and source names, AR for architecture, ME for MEP, ST for structural, and etc., and automatically prepare separation of model elements by work packages based on the source file's naming convention. Of course, the system is completely flexible, so you can set your naming convention as well. For detailed information about how to establish the rules, how to prepare the table for importing the selection sets, you just need to click on the help page and you will find all the detailed information what you have to do. Now we're gonna import selection sets. Okay, selection sets are now imported. And as you can see, we can now control model by simply turning off or on parts of the model based on the source name. There are also some additional simple examples like this one, which actually organizes the walls into bearing and non-load bearing walls. So you can separate these the walls category elements by this specific property, and you can easily select them and distinct them in the model. Or another very interesting selection set, predefined selection set template, which organizes doors based on the property named swing direction. So basically you can set selection set template that will organize all the doors on the project based on the property swing direction. So if we isolate it, we can see that we can easily identify it. It's not such impressive on this small scale model, but it could be very helpful in a bigger federated BIM model. Another interesting example is this selection set template, which organizes or sorts all the spaces in model into groups by square meter area. So it has a little bit more complex rule, which includes the category and the area spaces range. So if we import it, we're gonna see all the space elements or rooms in the model actually separated into groups from 0 to 10, 10 to 20, and so on square meters. So we can easily identify different groups of spaces based on their area. And this is just an example how this feature could be utilized for various spatial analysis and project control. Another template which we have here prepared separates HVAC ducts by airflow rates, which means that you are now able to organize your project elements even by some discipline specific properties, like in this case. So it could be very helpful in design phase, it could be very helpful in execution phase if we're talking about, let's say, materials, if we're talking about some specific technologies that have to be implemented, and so on. Basically, you're able to use any property and to use any logic that is applicable to your workflow and to your way of approaching BIM model control and BIM model organization. So basically, this system gives you an opportunity to predefine and automate a great amount of manual tasks related to model control and model organization. And these examples are just simple use cases of this feature, but you can probably find numerous applications to your workflow. And just to remind you that all these selection set templates and all exercise materials from this webinar are available at BEXEL user area. You can freely download it, you can use it, you can exercise. If you have any problems, if you have any idea to implement it and apply it on your projects, you can freely contact our support team and we will help you. So okay, right now we have certain level of model organization, we have ability to easily identify groups of elements based on certain properties and rules, but for a proper analysis we also need visualization of these organization templates. For that, we can use custom breakdown structures functionality. This feature allows you to automatically organize elements by certain rules and to color code them. So additionally to selection sets, you can even color code these elements. So if we make a simple CBS for, let's say, building stories, for example, we can color code different stories. So we're going to name this CBS building stories. We're going to check to use selected elements. We're going to group it by building level property and set color coding. Click OK, and we're going to get in 3D color coded view 3D color coded view of the groups of elements that are placed on different levels. And it could help us to just inspect the spatial structure of our BIM model and to prepare it for further analysis. What we can also do further is that we can create selection sets automatically based on the CBS created. So we're gonna just create first the selection folder for the building stories, and then we're gonna use functionality called creation wizard. here we can choose two possible options. We can choose the elements from QTO or all elements. By all elements, we're gonna create smart selection sets with the rules from CBS. That means when you update the model, the selection sets will be updated as well. And if we look at this particular example, coloring scheme of the analysis is probably not relevant to the user, because you just need to actually see the difference between two floors, but you don't have some specific rules for coloring the certain floors. But let's say that we have standard color coding system for MEP systems or rooms or materials. All these rules and procedures could now be integrated in BEXEL Manager through import template functionality. This means that you're able to set certain color coding rule to save it as a template and use it on the next project. So now we're gonna see a few examples. So let's say that MEP system color coding template is present. So that means that you have certain standard how you color code MEP systems on your projects. So it colors different system groups according to predefined standard rules. Such rules could be defined at a company level, team level, and so on, or could be part of a market requirements and simple things, you know. So basically, we can just simply create new CBS. We're gonna name it System Color Coding. We're gonna find we're gonna just identify the source for MEP works. Use selected, and then we're gonna import a template. So you can import a template, a CBS template, which actually defines according to which property we're gonna sort the model elements, and not only that, but also defines which color will be assigned to which property value. So as you can see in this model, we have a lot of elements that don't have defined system property, and they are colored white. Cold water is colored blue, hot water is red. We have different colors for supply and return air in HVAC system. We have different colors for hydronic return and hydronic supply lines in the HVAC. So basically, we can easily transfer our standardized scheme for color coding for MEP systems from project to project. We can easily predefine it and use it in as part of our workflows. We can also further utilize imported predefined selection sets that are sorting rooms by area, let's say. So basically, we have imported the selection sets that are sorting rooms by area, but we also have a CBS template that will color all these groups of areas based on the property area. So we can now import it, the template, and show how it looks like. So you can easily analyze any of your projects based on these selection sets and based on these predefined rules and color coding sets. So if we turn on the areas and isolate the elements, so we can see more in detail how this CBS works, we're practically having the visualization of our selection sets that were prepared and imported previously. Another example is color coding for spaces in the model based on their name or function. So we can basically, like we did here in this example, we actually define the color coding for different types of spaces in our model, and we can actually create this CBS from template and have this color coding equal on the same project. Of course, this means that you would probably need to have predefined naming convention for your spaces, but that is something that people definitely have in their companies. So having the opportunity to have a color coding system or selection sets predefined and based on these naming conventions and standards will save you a lot of time in organizing and checking your model elements. I will just demonstrate another variation of this template, which will actually sort spaces or rooms in the model by name, color coded, but also by floor. So we are now able not only to see color coded spaces based on their function, based on their name, but we can also see it by level as well. So we can see that certain functionalities have the certain shades of color and that they are grouped together floor by floor, and we can easily inspect the functional organization of our project. Now we're going to change visual properties of the model to prepare for the demonstration of the next example of the custom breakdown features, which will include MEP elements. Or this one is also specific and interesting that we can color code HVAC ducts based on airflow rate parameters. So basically we have prepared color coding system that will color code with certain colors areas with higher pressure and with different colors areas with lower pressure, so you can actually make a lot of different analysis based on this knowledge base. So after we import the template, we can see that we again have certain elements that don't have identified value. So you can right away see how this CBS template can help user to start the quality control process of the model, to easily identify and visualize elements that doesn't comply with certain rules defined within your knowledge base. And you can easily visualize data layer of the model through the 3D representation of the model. And this could be very helpful in a lot of different situations in design phase or construction phase of the project. And again, as with selection sets, possibilities for application are limitless and could allow you to optimize your model organization and control your workflows in the best possible way. Of course, the main advantage of such approach is that you are able not only to establish and use your knowledge base on your projects, but you're able to enrich this knowledge base and to exchange it between projects. So right now we're gonna try to demonstrate how you can create a custom breakdown structure and how you can transfer it to another project. So let's just create a simple custom breakdown structure for structural elements. So we're going to use structural elements, structural sources. We're going to name it ST category. And we're going to organize, we're going to just group elements by category, add color coding. And now we're going to get all the elements colored in certain way based on their categories. Okay, right now we're gonna modify color coding scheme. So we're gonna just simply choose different colors. We're gonna choose red for the beams. We're gonna choose, let's say, green for the masses. Roofs are gonna be colored in orange. Slabs could be in a dark blue. Structural columns could be purple, let's say. We can just add some random coloring just to show you the point. So this could be light blue, and Windows. Okay, so now we have set our color coding scheme in this model, and what we can do now, we can transfer it to the next project. How we can do it? We can do it in two possible ways. We can actually save a template. It's going to be a new CBS template, structural categories, let's say, and then we can import this template to our next model, or we can do it via exchange. That means that we can directly export custom breakdowns to another project. So we can just select the custom breakdown. We're gonna name it ST categories and click OK. Okay, now we're gonna open our second model. It's a different type of building. It's a high-rise building, and now we're gonna just use exchange function to import our CBS file. We're gonna click open. We're gonna check custom breakdowns. Custom breakdown is succeeded, but as we can see, custom breakdown doesn't have any elements, and this is okay because we haven't specified which elements should be included in this custom breakdown in this new model. So we're going to just go to edit, and we're going to just find selection sets and find structural source as we used in the previous model, and we're going to see that color coding is similar as in previous model. We're going to click OK. We're going to select and isolate elements, go to 3D color view, and there it is. It is colored according to the CBS coloring scheme that was set in a different model. So this is a great tool to enrich and to exchange your knowledge base between the projects. So besides this basic CBS transfer, we can also see how our selection set import and CBS template work on a different model of a different scale. So we're gonna now again import the selection sets the selection set templates that we were using on the smaller model. So we're gonna use rooms by area selection sets. Let's check if it's imported. We're gonna use a flow rate selection set template as well. And then we're gonna try to create the same CBS templates. So first let's make rooms by area. Again, we're gonna select spaces as the only category to be taken into account. We're gonna import template for rooms by area, and if we click isolate the elements, we can see that the spaces are sorted and colored in the same way as in the small scale project. We can also test it for, let's say, room name by floors. So we can again repeat this. Let's call it rooms by floor. Repeat the same CBS template. And we're gonna see that coloring scheme is again the same as with the small scale project. So if we collapse and see that this building has like 30 floors compared to the only 3 on the original model, but the color coding of the spaces is unchanged, no matter that you basically have a completely different project, and the logic behind it is the same. And for the end, let's just try to recreate the one for the MEP systems coloring CBS. So let's just choose MEP source, and let's call it systems CBS. And let's try to import the proper CBS. Click OK. And if we isolate selected elements, we're going to have the same organization logic as in the small scale model. So if we go back to original model, small scale model, and go to the system CBS, isolate elements, we're gonna see that we have the same coloring scheme as on the new project. So the same systems are colored in the same manner. That means that you can easily have your standardized workflows and that you can just have all these templates ready for every project to come. And again, just to repeat that all these templates, all these examples are available at BEXEL user area, and if you face any challenges regarding implementation or modification of these templates, you can submit your questions to support@bexelmanager.com and our colleagues will try to help you. So, predefined selection sets and custom breakdowns are useful tools for model analysis, but for a detailed project control, this is not sufficient. The sheer scale of the data that has to be processed is just so big that it is almost impossible to do that manually. Because of that, the best way to ensure data quality of BIM model is through automated data validation process. Data management and data validation in BEXEL Manager are performed through a series of open API add-ins available for download, but besides available model checkers, with a small effort in programming, user is able to configure customized add-in tailored for the needs of a specific project, specific market, or specific legal requirements or company-specific checks. So the basic principle behind data validation module in BEXEL Manager is actually that user can establish the rules or the data sets that should be populated in the model in the form of Excel spreadsheet, open this rules or this checklist in an add-in or API engine, and the user will get the series of selection sets with all the elements that just don't comply with the said rules. Besides Excel spreadsheet, data validation rules could be also exchanged via JSON, JavaScript object notation, machine readable format, which is very useful for knowledge management and exchange of knowledge between different software platforms. We have developed a range of different add-ins that are available on BEXEL user area at add-in section. You can freely download it, use it in your projects, and if you have any questions, any problems regarding implementation or eventual customization of the add-ins, you can submit your questions to support@bexelmanager.com. Going back to BIM model to see how the add-ins for data validation actually work. So you can again select and isolate the part of the model that you want to check in your add-in. We have a wide range of different add-ins. Today we're going to check the basic property checker add-in available here. We're going to open checklist where we have defined our rules. And the checklist is basically just a simple Excel spreadsheet with a series of separate sheets for separate data sets. On the first one we have 5 distinct project phases. Those will be used to define amount of properties that should be populated in BIM model based on the detail level of the said phase. So in concept design, it's going to have fewer properties than in design development. Then in issue for construction, it has more properties than in design development, and for as-built and facility maintenance, it's going to probably need some additional properties that are specific for the operations of the building. And just to underline that number and names of the phases is not limited, so the user is able to customize it according to the needs of the project. Besides this, we have a series of sheets that are named according to the categories of BIM model elements, and for every specific category we have a series of properties that should be defined in a certain way, that should be placed in a certain property set, that should have a value type, a certain value type, and that should be populated in certain phase of the project. And besides this, we also have a fifth column that is called key, and that is defined only for some specific properties. This column defines what are the possible valid values for certain properties. What that means? That means that if we have let's say construction sequence property should be defined only in the range of these values here. So it could be only specified like this. We have the same for the space naming. We have also the specified values for the uniformat and master format coding system. So based on this property sets and these parameters, our data validation engine will check if there are elements that doesn't comply to these defined rules. So if we click open, the Excel spreadsheet will be loaded. We can choose the phase, one of the 5 defined in the document. We can choose if we want to check only selected elements or all elements from the project. We can just click run. And we want to use only selected elements because it's gonna limit the time needed for the model check to be performed, because it depends on number of properties and number of elements to be selected. Okay, the model check was complete for all structural elements, and now we're gonna just get a series of selection sets that are sorted by model categories, because we defined our properties based on model categories, and for every property that was filled there will be specific selection set with the name of the failed property and with detailed explanation by which rule it was not actually properly defined. With a simple drag and drop command, we can create BCF files out of these selection sets and exchange it with any OpenBIM BCF supporting platform. So basically, user is able to open every specific BCF to define the deadline, to define the type of the issue, to add some description or comment, to define priority, and to assign the person who need to solve this problem. So after you save, you can save this as a BCF file and send it via some BCF platform like BIM Collab, for example, and send it back to designers to solve the found problems. And besides results in a form of selection sets, there's also possibility to export data into PowerBI report. So we're going to just name it model checker results. Click save. And the add-in will just perform some additional analysis and export data into PowerBI template, where you're going to have a detailed analysis of all the clashes and statistics about percentage of errors and percentage of well-defined properties in the model. So if we open the file in PowerBI, we're going to get an empty template. Of course, we have just to refresh the data to update with the latest exported data from the latest check. And after update, we're gonna have complete detailed analysis of our performed data validation process. In this standardized dashboard, you're able to see basically a health check of your model. So you're gonna have information about total required properties, you're gonna have total value type properties, you're gonna have total entered properties, and what is defined properly, and what was the percentage of value from pick list properties. You, on the left side, you have ability to filter it by the category of the checked element, and on the right side by the property from the performed check. Below you have the detailed list, detailed table for all the properties and all the categories, defining the percentage of completion, defining which properties are missing, and color coding it based on the percentage of properties entered. So it's very detailed analysis, and it could help you to health check your models and to present it very easily to other stakeholders. You can filter it by, as I said, by category, by a type of property, and you can have an interactive look to all the properties of the model. We're moving back to large-scale model to see how data validation add-in works on a larger scale. We're gonna select this time MEP source of the model. We're gonna isolate selection, and we're gonna perform data check on the MEP part of this large-scale project. So again, the procedure is the same. We're gonna just load the same checklist. So just to open it to quickly go through the sheets, it has the same 5 phases. It has the same list of properties. In this case, we are interested basically only in MEP properties because we're checking only the MEP part of the project. And again, the values of the properties are the same as in the last check. The only difference is that right now we have different categories of element, and we have a lot larger validation process because it's aimed at much bigger number of elements. We're gonna use the same phase as the last time. We're gonna use only selected elements, and we're gonna hit run. This time we have to expect that the checking process will definitely take longer because we have a much larger model with much bigger number of elements, with more properties to check, and depending on hardware you have, it could take even a couple of minutes to complete check of this scale. But anyway, when we at the end see the number of checked properties, we're gonna see that manually it is virtually impossible to perform such analysis and such validation process. Our validation process is complete. We got the model check results in form of selection sets. Again, we can just easily identify the groups of elements with the failed properties. We can easily navigate in the model and see which are the elements with the specific problems and specific properties that are failed. We can again drag and drop and create BCF files and send it to other stakeholders that are part of our project team. And again, as in previous example, we're gonna export PowerBI report to see more in detail what is the status of this model in terms of data health check, or to see which percentage of the model has the properly populated data layer. So if we open PowerBI template, we'll have to again refresh the data to get the latest results. It will take a little bit longer than the last time, and as you can see, this time we have much larger amount of performed data checks. We have over 1 million required properties to check. In this check, we can again select only one category. In this situation, ducts. We can check what is the status of the data populated in this category. We can check some other categories as well. We can check it by a property, for instance assembly code, and see what is the situation with the, well, it seems like property assembly code is properly addressed in the ducts. Or we can select all the properties and all the categories and see what is the situation in this model. So very practical, very extensive database, organized in a proper way, so it could be controlled, it could be easily presented, and it could give you an insight into status of your model and if it's ready for the following stages of the project. Besides API add-ins, BEXEL Manager also has some validation engines built in within software functionalities. So for example, within Cost Editor there is a validation engine to check if there are elements in the model that are not applicable to cost assignment process. That means that for some reason such elements doesn't contain needed properties or needed values to be assigned to the cost version. We're gonna talk more in detail about this process next week during 5D session, but right now we're gonna just quickly perform the validation process. So you're gonna just need to right click on the cost database, go to the check applicable elements. Again, you can choose all elements or selected elements in case you want to check just a part of the model. If you click, it's gonna very quickly perform the validation analysis. If you go to the results, again the results are presented in the form of selection sets. You have two main folders. One is info folder, in which you're practically getting the hierarchy of selection sets that are reflecting the structure of your cost database, and that will show you which elements are applicable for cost assignment process. And another folder is a warning folder, where you're going to have extracted all the elements that are not applicable, with a detailed description what is a problem for the assignment process. In this case, for this group of elements, they are missing the property perimeter that is probably required in the quantity formula of this cost item. Besides automated data validation process that we have just demonstrated, another important process in BIM is data enrichment process. Sometimes project manager needs to enrich model with additional properties or to modify existing properties, and BEXEL Manager is one of the rare BIM management tools that allows modification of BIM model data layer. BEXEL Manager also allows for automated data enrichment process. This means that through open API add-ins and API scripts, user is able to add properties to model elements based on user-defined rules. In pretty much similar workflow as with model checkers, data enrichment rules are defined through the Excel spreadsheet input that is imported in add-in user interface, and model is enriched based on these rules. Also, model enrichment rules could be defined through API script, so you're not limited to Excel as your input method. In order to demonstrate this process of data enrichment, we're gonna go back to the large-scale sample project. that we were using for the previous analysis, and we're going to check the status of the elements regarding uniformat and master format codes. So if we check some randomly one of the elements, we're going to see that there are no uniformat or master format codes assigned to these model elements. We can check another one. Again, nothing. We only have construction sequence, and even that property doesn't have value defined within it. So the process of data enrichment is pretty simple process. We're going to just use and import properties from Excel add-in. We're going to just start the add-in, and again the process is pretty much similar as with the model checkers. We're going to just find the proper Excel spreadsheet with the populated rules for model data enrichment. So what we're going to do, we're going to just open this sample for the master format code enrichment. If we open the table, we're going to see that based on the combination of 3 existing properties in the model, the category of the element, family, and the system name where the system is required, we're going to add a specific master format code. So for all the elements with this combination of properties, we're going to actually assign appropriate master format code in this case. So as you can see, for MEP elements, we're going to also include system name as a distinctive property that has to be taken into account, because we would probably have the same types of pipes, the same family and the same diameter and the same maybe even material that are related to different MEP systems. When it comes to structural and architectural works, we practically don't have defined systems, so we're going to just use combination of category and family name. So if we just go back and click open, the add-in will just perform the enrichment process quickly. Of course, again, as with the model checkers, it depends on the scale of the project, it depends on the number of properties to be populated, but it won't take more than a 15-20 second stop. Again, in similar manner as with the model checkers, we have a set of selection sets with the elements grouped in the selection sets or selection set folders according to the values of the properties that were added to certain elements. So basically, if we select elements with this code, we can just go and check the properties and see that the property is populated in a master format and that it matches the code from the selection set folder. And now we're able to do that also for the uniformat code. So we're going to just use a different input table that will have uniformat codes populated with a specific combination of category, family, and systems. So if we click open, again, it's gonna take some time to import the properties and populate it to all the elements of the model. But once it's completed, we're gonna again be able to select the elements based on the properties that were added to them, and to check if the properties are actually added. And to utilize properties that were added with this data enrichment process, we're gonna import a custom breakdown structure that will sort the elements according to uniformat and master format code. So we're gonna use exchange function, click import, navigate to the proper folder, and import CBS. Check custom breakdowns. So here we have a CBS that organizes all model elements by uniformat using a substring for the groups of works and using master format on the lowest level of organization. If we go to 3D color coded view, we're gonna see that all the elements are colored according to master format on the third level of organization. So if we check some group of elements and let's say isolate it, we can see that every group of work is properly colored. So we can check different types of works and organize our project according to the data that we were populating using an add-in. And that would be it for today's session when it comes to demonstration of advanced BIM workflows. Now we're moving to Q&A session for today. A colleague just notified me that we have experienced some technical issues with streaming. I'm sorry to hear that. It's probably related to streaming platform and network quality issues. Anyway, shortly after the session, we will share a recording of this event, so you will be able to watch it again with no problems that were present in the live streaming. As I said, we will also, actually we have already published all the materials that were used in this demonstration. So on BEXEL user area, you're able to download it and to try all these exercises by yourself. So let's just move to questions. I will pick up some of your questions and try to give you the answers. I believe that you already got some questions answered by my colleagues. Okay, let's see. How is BEXEL different from Revit? So BEXEL Manager is a BIM management platform. Revit is a BIM authoring tool. That means that you're using Revit to create your model, to model it, to prepare the model, and you use BEXEL Manager to manage the model or multiple models from multiple authoring tools. That means that you're gonna, how to illustrate it, you're gonna get 15 different models from 15 different designers from 15 different softwares. You're going to federate it into one central BIM model, and you're going to perform all the analysis from 3D, 4D, 5D, up to 6D. So throughout the whole life cycle of the project. How the reports are generated. We're going to talk about that more in following sessions as well. So basically in every module of BEXEL Manager, you have a reporting engine. So as you have seen today, you can export it to PowerBI. We have also options to export it to Excel files. In some cases, in some modules, we also export to PDF, HTML. So in most cases, it's just you have just additional functionality, a button to export the report into a predefined standardized template. There's also possibility to modify these templates and to have your own customized template during the export. What is a difference between selection set and CBS? However, they have similar working. Okay, well, the difference is that a selection set is a little bit more flexible because you can just pick up a group of elements and create a selection set with no specific rules or some intelligent rule that relies on the data. In CBS, it is always relied on the data layer of the model. So you have to define the rules. So you have to filter to say elements by certain rules, and you have hierarchy in the CBS, so you can just sort it in the first level by one property, on the second by second property, and with the smart selection sets you can define within the hierarchy of the selection set, you can combine different rules within the same selection set. Okay, we have a comment. This is probably related to data enrichment part or data. It is better to build API who takes all properties in one Excel sheet while making so many sheets in one Excel. Yeah, the reason to separate it to numerous sheets is because of the limitation of Excel. In case you just bring a lot of categories, a big number of possible properties that should be checked, you can reach the limit of Excel. I agree you can use an API, but why we also have the option, tomorrow we're going to see how you can use API scripts directly in BEXEL Manager, so you don't have to use add-ins for everything. But why we also developed an add-ins with an Excel input is because engineers are just not, in most cases, are not used to program in C#. So this is somehow, I would say, easier to be managed by most of the engineers. If you have advanced programming skills, or at least some basic programming skills, OpenAPI console would be the great solution for you. And tomorrow we will demonstrate certain workflows that are including the API. I just seen another question. Okay, what is the other format of model file that can be imported to BEXEL? Okay, besides an IFC, an OpenBIM IFC format, there's an also option to import a BX3 format, which is actually direct export of Revit models directly from Revit to BEXEL Manager format, and you can use it. You can just download this add-in for Revit on our web page. Tomorrow we're going to see that workflow as well, and some additional workflows. Please tell the best model format. Well, the best model format is IFC, if you ask me, because it's an OpenBIM format. It allows you to actually combine, to federate models from multiple different platforms. But in some cases, if you are working in Autodesk Revit, maybe it would be easier for you to use our specific direct exporter to BEXEL Manager and to export it directly from Revit to BEXEL Manager using our add-in. So it depends on the software you use. Okay, that would be it from the questions. At the end of this session, I just want to remind you that this is a 4-day event, that we will have a second session tomorrow and 2 more next week on Tuesday and Wednesday by my colleague Mileta Pejovic. Tomorrow we will we'll continue this presentation of some more advanced data enrichment workflows using an API console. We're gonna also perform some advanced area analysis and export to PowerBI of the area analysis. We're going to talk more in detail about clash detection process with the focus on a containment clash analysis. That's a new functionality in BEXEL Manager. And we're going to also talk more in detail about predefined clash detection templates, where you can actually predefine all clash detection analysis on your project. Again, in the form of Excel spreadsheet, import it as a template, pretty similar workflow as today with the selection sets, and you can use it to all your projects. So that would be it for today. I'm sorry to hear that we had the problems with the streaming. Again, just to repeat that the high quality recordings will be available on our LinkedIn webpage and YouTube as well. So you will be able to watch it again in higher quality if you experience some problems with the live stream. And I just want to thank you for your attention. Have a nice day and see you tomorrow.